What's up everyone, it's me and we're here with another tutorial. I'm going to get into Cubase in a second, but I wanted to clue you guys into something I've started using. It's my $13 external video audio solution. So for a long time I was using the Rode VideoMic Go and it works just fine. The only problem is that the preamp on my DSLR is hissier than Nagini. Now I don't know what that means, but I've been assured that some people out there will. And those people will probably be nerds. So it's been hissier than Nagini, and there's nothing I could do to really do it. So I'd have to bring it in post and do noise reduction, and I may do a tutorial on that. But what I'm going to do for now is show you my new external audio solution. So I got this $12, $13 lapel mic off of Amazon.com. It's a Blue Smart lapel mic. And I'll link to it in the description, but the important thing about this is that it's TRRS, so tip ring ring sleeve as in the connector, so it plugs right into your cell phone and it works out of the box with your cell phone, which is what I love about it. So instead of using an external recorder like the Zoom H5, like I can't really put this in my pocket and not have it look dorky, you know? Or you could use a Zoom H1, but a Zoom H1's $100 or something, and I'll link to the H5 and the H1 in the description. They're fine machines, but if you don't want to spend that type of money, if you want to have a $13 solution, the best thing to do is use your good friend, the cell phone. This is my old cell phone, but if I decided to go $26, I could have two mics. I could mic up two people and record an interview. I could get whatever camera angles I want and not have to worry about where the VideoMic Go was in relation to everyone else, which is nice because when we're recording location audio, the lapel mics or tie clip mics or lavalier mics, or as I like to call them, Cleveland Cavalier mics, can go with you wherever you want to go. So I'm here, you know, in front of the camera, but what if I want to step out? Well, if we're listening to the road, it's going to sound like poop, or you won't be able to hear anything. But speaking of poop, now all of a sudden, I'm in the John. You can hear the fan humming, and you can hear that my voice got a little bit echoey. So if you ever call me on the telephone and you hear an echoey voice and a fan in the background, there's a chance that I might be taking a poop. But when you have a lapel mic solution and a smartphone solution, you don't need external recorders, and you can spend $13 and get decent audio, and all you have to do is just do a little bit of massaging in post. And I typically do that in Cubase, and then I'll have that file as my auxiliary audio, and I'll sync it with the video in my video editor, and I'll go from there. So let's get into Cubase and I'll show you how that works. Here we go. So we're here in Cubase, and let's just import the file. So I'll make a stereo file and I'll call it Blue Smart because that's the name of the lapel mic. Now I will go to File, Import Audio File, and I have it right here. It's already in the pool because I did this earlier to make sure I didn't screw up, so I'll just reuse it. So we have this, and as you can see, it's like pretty sausage wavy, but it's pretty clean. I am checking. And of course, shattering the illusion of my ability to do one-take stuff, I do need to check audio and make sure things are working. So here is what you saw earlier. Hey everyone, it's me, and we're here with another tutorial. I'm going to get into Cubase in a second, but I wanted to clue you guys into something I've started using. It's my $13 external video audio. So you hear that? That's what I recorded with the Blue Smart. Now, my suggestion to you all is to check audio, and then you see these things here. They're claps. These things right here. I forgot that I'm screen recording, and I need to demonstrate. Leave all that in, do all of your audio processing, and then sync it up in post, and then do the trimming from the beginning and stuff in post, because all of those claps and stuff will allow the video editing software to more easily sync with the scratch sound. So this is going to be sort of affecting the timbre and the quality of this stuff, but I'll tell you, this is my simple, dead simple processing for voiceover. So we can hear it. Solution. And it sounds a little bit not great. So the first thing I'll add is an EQ. We'll add the studio EQ just because that's the easiest one for me to use. I'll put this on. I want to do a cut. And I'll cut all the way to 50 or 60. And then I kind of want to sound like, so that'll get rid of some of the rumble in the room. SLR is hissier than Nagini. Now, I don't know what that means. But I want, here at around 100, I want to sound smooth like James Earl Jones and or Barry White. So I will sort of set this to 120 here, and I'll dial back the Q so it's wider, then I'll just bump my gain. So now you can see means, but I've been assured that some people out there will, and those people will probably be nerds. Okay, that sounds good. And at this point, maybe I'll set this to -2. I don't really need it to go over 2. So the output of this will be -2 or 1.9 or whatever. Now here, I know that there's some unpleasing frequencies in my voice. You guys get to hear them every time you watch one of my tutorials, but because I don't really do this process all the time. So let's listen for it. And what we do is we do our little sweep thing. I don't know if you've ever seen this technique when using EQ, but you can do it for vocals. You can do it for instruments. You create, you know, a high Q thing, and you find unappealing frequencies, and then you carve them out. So let's do that right this second. So it's been hissier than Nagini, and there's see, that sounds kind of gnarly. Right there at around nothing 2000. I could do to really do it. So we'll just cut that out, and sometimes you got to lower the Q, just sort of carve out a notch. Basically, they call that notch filtering, and then, you know, at the top, we can just add some air or whatever, just a shelf 1, shelf 2, who cares? Just a little air at the top just to make it sound ethereal, like I'm James Earl Jones floating on a cloud. So here we go. I'd have to bring it in post and do noise reduction, and I may do a tutorial on that. But what I'm going to do for me bypassing it and then unbypassing it for now is show you my new external audio solution. So I got this $12, $13 lapel mic, and just sort of making myself sound a little bit better. So at the end of the chain here, I want a brick wall limiter just so that it never goes above -2. So we'll set that to -2, and that's all you need to do about that. I'll maximize it a bit. It doesn't need much maximization, but this is a loudness maximizer, and I'm putting them at the end here because in Cubase, these first 6 are pre-fader, and these last 2 are post-fader, but we can set that to -2 as well. You don't need your dialogue to go any higher than -2, and just do the classic, and I don't know, 15% sounds reasonable. So let's, the brick wall limiter shouldn't do much, but just in case something sneaks through, it won't clip. And let's listen to the maximizer. Mic off of Amazon.com. It's a Blue Smart lapel mic, and I'll link to it in the description. But the important thing, cool. And then I'll put in a compressor, just the Cubase compressor, since we're working with stock plugins. Compressor, and this one you can just sort of get gain reduction to where it's about -3 dB or something. Just sort of kiss it with the compressor, and your attack doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, right at 1 millisecond. So, whoa. What happened there? Tip ring sleeve as in the connector, so it plugs right into your cell phone, and it works right out of the box with your cell phone, and that's which is what I love about it. So instead of using an external recorder, but as you can see, this wave is already pretty compressed, but whatever, you can add more compression. Who cares, right? So basically right out of the box, and I could do auto makeup. I'll just do auto makeup, why not? And then I like to do one more. We can try that new EQ, and sometimes you can overbake your VOs, but whatever. So this will just try to add some stuff. We'll call it, we'll just do peak stuff. If we find pleasing frequencies, we'll add and we'll subtract. Like the Zoom H5, like I can't really put this in my pocket and not have it look dorky, you know? Or you could use a Zoom H1, but a Zoom H1's $100 or something, and I'll link to the H5 and the H1 in the description. They're fine machines, but if you don't want to spend that type of money, if you want to have a $13 solution, the best thing to do is use your... Okay, so that's what I've done. I just added EQ, compression, and then EQ again, just sort of tone shaping with this EQ. And it actually looks pretty similar to what I did with the first one, but I'm sort of reinforcing it after compression, and then maximizing the loudness to get it to be exactly where I want, and then letting it fly. So this is before and after. Your good friend, the cell phone. This is my old cell phone, but if I decided to go $26, I could have 2 mics. I could mic up 2 people and record an interview. I could get whatever camera angles I want and not have. And this sounds like I am James Earl Jones floating on a cloud. Oops. Hissier than Nagini, and there's nothing I could do to really do it, so it'd have. So boom, that's what I do to sort of clean up some voice stuff. If there were noise, I would, you know, if I was using the Rode VideoMic Go or something and I had hissy DSLR stuff, I would use a technique that I may explain in a later video where I do subtractive EQ with one of the free plugins that comes with the Reaper plugin bundle called ReFIR. You can find videos about that on the internet, and I may make one myself just for fun. But until now, this has been a tutorial on how to use a cell phone lav mic, Cleveland Cavalier mic, and then what I do, my signal chain with the Cavalier mic in Cubase Pro, using all stock plugins. So I hope you found this useful, and feel free to like or subscribe. I do these Cubase videos every Monday, so if you have any suggestions about what I should do next, be sure to leave them in the comments. And everything is linked in the description if you want to pick up any of this stuff. So have a great day, everyone. Bye.